When you heal your nervous system, you heal every area of your life because you allow yourself to show up differently. It's not disconnected. When you heal the root, you heal everything else. We're back, baby, with a brand new season of the It's Fucking Spiritual podcast. Join us each week as we have unfiltered conversations about how to transform your life. Our mission is to usher in a new era of spirituality where you don't have to be all love and light to live a life of alignment. Here, we honor all of it, the profound and the profane, the magic and the messy, and all things that make you human. So let's discuss the truth behind transformation and be unapologetic in our evolution. From manifestation to money, embodiment to energy, and all taboo topics, nothing is going to be off limits. Are you ready to live a life that feels just as good as it looks? Let's get fucking spiritual. Hello, my friends. Welcome back to another solo episode of the It's Fucking Spiritual podcast. So today is a big episode. I sat down and took some time to actually really plan out this episode because I really want you guys to get this. This is such a life-changing thing that I'm going to share with you all today. And my hopes in this episode is that you feel seen and heard and less alone in what you're going through, and that this episode for you is a huge exhale. And the reason why I want to share this today is because I feel like, you know, when we embark on this journey in self-development, it's like all of a sudden we want to change our life in all the areas, right? It's like, I want to manifest my best body. I want to manifest the love of my life. I want to manifest an abundance in finances and all of this stuff on my vision board. And it can feel very overwhelming when you feel like you have to change your life in every single area. And so my hope is that this episode is validating for you. I hope that you see yourself in the examples that I'm going to give, and that this episode can act as a place of hope. And I hope that it ignites you to realize that it may feel overwhelming at times when you are changing your life, and it can feel like it's all disjointed, right? It can feel like it's so many different areas. Like, oh my gosh, I need to heal my anxious attachment, and I need to learn how to better manage my money, and I need to be able to go to the gym and start this program, and I need to be, right? It can feel like it's all separate. And what I want you to see inside of this episode is that every area that you want to change your life in actually is created and changed by one root cause. And so what I mean by that is all self-sabotage, or in any area of your life where you're not where you want to be yet, it actually can boil down to shifting one thing. So yes, on the surface level, we go to the gym. Yes, on the surface level, we manage our money differently, right? On the surface level, we change our actions. But when it feels so overwhelming is when you are trying to overhaul your life and every single area at once. And then what ends up happening, right? You try to change everything at once, and then it feels like you have a million balls spinning in the air, and then you can't juggle them, and then you drop them, and then you make it mean something about yourself. And what I want you to realize in this episode is if you focus on shifting the one thing that I am going to share with you, shifting every other area of your life is going to be a natural byproduct, and it is going to feel so much easier. Okay, so let's get into it, shall we? If you're watching the video and you see me looking down, it is because I have a massive amount of notes today because this is a serious episode. So you might want to save this episode and come back to it at a time that you can take notes, or sit down, grab a journal, grab a pen and paper, and you're going to want to take notes on this one. That's all I'm going to say. Okay, so I've said this before, and I will say this again. When you heal your nervous system, you heal your life. And I wish that I had understood this sooner, because when I started doing all this work, as I mentioned at the beginning of this episode, I felt like I had to change everything at once, and it was really overwhelming, and it was really challenging to shift it when I wasn't shifting the root cause. And so what's actually happening is, let's take, finances, for example. And I'm going to go through the three main areas that pretty much everybody always wants to see shifts in, which is health, wealth, and relationships. And so I'm going to, in this episode, give you specific examples of your nervous system being dysregulated in each of these areas so that you can feel validated and also see like where you show up and where this dysregulation is showing up in your life. Briefly interrupting this episode to invite you into my free 3-day nervous system regulation workshop called Regulate, this upcoming April 1st through 3rd. So this is for you if you feel like you are so self-aware and yet you're still stuck in some of the same self-sabotaging patterns. So you've done the journaling, you've done the vision boards, you've done the limiting belief work, you've said your affirmations, and you know that you're aware of all of your stories from childhood, and yet you are still not where you want to be. You feel like, I've done all of this manifestation work. What else is out there? There has to be something else out there for me. And it is most likely because your nervous system actually needs repatterning. So this workshop is going to give you the tools to shift the state of your body to manifest what we actually desire, which I believe is the missing link. We had nearly 4,000 people go through Regulate last year, and they had incredible results because you're not going to just learn about nervous system regulation. You will actually get to experience it in the 3 days. So this is an interactive workshop where you are going to learn and practice one nervous system tool each day to help you regulate, release, and repattern your body for what you're calling in. And you're going to do it in real time with me. So I have a feeling it is going to be the missing link to all of the self-development work that you've already been doing, and I'm really excited for you to join us. So if you're ready to dive deep into healing your nervous system, join Regulate April 1st through 3rd. Go to the link in the show notes, or you can sign up at rachelgibler.com/regulate, and I will see you there. Now back to the episode. But for me, I noticed that it felt so unmanageable to try to change my life in all the areas at once. And inevitably what would be happening is I would create this huge plan for my health. I would create this huge plan for my finances, for how I showed up in my business, for how I showed up in relationships. And I would journal about it, and I would try to act as if, and I would, visualize myself doing something different. And inevitably I could only keep it up for like at best a few weeks, and then I would start dropping the ball. Something would happen. I would get triggered. And so, for example, in finances, like I'd feel like I would start making some progress, and then all of a sudden I'd get a big bill, and then I wouldn't want to look at my finances again. Or same thing with health. Like I'd be on top of it for like a month, right? And then inevitably something would happen. And, life would happen, and then suddenly I would fall off of the program. So tell me if this is you, if you're resonating with this. And what I didn't realize was that the underlying cause was a dysregulated nervous system, because I was trying to change my action, right? So you try to change your action to produce a different result, except for you're not healing the underlying root cause that is creating the action anyway. And this is the issue that I always talk about when it comes to mindset work, is that mindset work is taught from the top down, meaning change your mindset, change your life. You need to change your thoughts about how you're thinking, and then inevitably that's going to change your feelings, that's going to change your actions and change your results. Well, what that neglects to tell us is that your nervous system is the thing that's actually producing your feelings and your thoughts in the first place. So when I learned the body-based approach, when I learned the bottom-up approach, which essentially means your body's state is the thing that is giving you your thoughts and feelings, and therefore creating your action and results, it totally changed everything for me. So what this basically means is that when you get triggered, your body goes into a dysregulated state, fight, flight, freeze, or fawn. And when you go into your natural habitual state, which different circumstances could create different states, you're always kind of moving throughout the states, but depending on how you got triggered as a child, for example, when it came to finances, I personally would go into freeze or collapse into fawn, right? But in relationships, I would go into fight more. And sometimes fawn too, the people pleaser in us, and we'll get into it. But when you get dysregulated, your body goes into fight, flight, or freeze, fawn, and then it's happening so automatic and so fast, then you're starting to think the thoughts of that particular state. So the state of your body is actually determining what you are thinking and how you are feeling. So are you guys with me? Are you getting this? Like, is this landing for you? This is so profound, because what that tells us is we can't just change our thoughts, because the second that you get triggered, your body is the thing that's going to react first. And so we have to change the state of your body. And when you do that, you actually create spaciousness to be able to respond differently, to respond instead of react. And this is really good news. And this, I hope, feels like such an exhale for you, because when you learn how to change the state of your body, doesn't matter if it has to deal with your finances, if it has to deal with relationships, if it has to deal with how you manage your health, how you show up in work, no matter what, if you know how to change your body's state, you now have created spaciousness for there to be a different reaction, for you to choose. And so what regulating your nervous system does is it enables you to choose something different. And when you choose something different, you create a different life. So let's get into the actual examples, because I want you to see that you could be regulated or dysregulated in certain areas of your life, in these large areas. We're going to go into finances, we'll go into relationships, and we'll go into health. I'm going to run through them, and you'll probably get a chance to see yourself in some of these. And you might not even realize that the way that you've been responding is a dysregulation pattern. Like, some people just think, oh, I'm not good with finances. Well, you're not realizing that that's actually because your nervous system is dysregulated, right? So you blame yourself and don't realize that actually the self-sabotaging pattern has everything to do with the state of your body and not actually something wrong with you. Or it doesn't mean that you're incapable. It doesn't mean that you're not meant for massive abundance or incredible relationship. When you shift this, it actually allows what you truly know in your heart you're capable of. It allows that to be able to come to life. So I hope that this is validating for you, and I hope that you realize that you can shift this and you are not stuck. And I hope that this gives you hope. Okay. So let's go into finances. Signs that you could be dysregulated in your finances. If your body goes into a state of fight meaning like, I got to fight back, right? You might say things like, I have to hustle, or I'm going to fall behind. You might overwork. You might hoard money. You might feel a lot of fear around money running out, or you might be stuck in survival mode no matter how much you make. And actually, I see myself in this one quite a bit. Even when I started to make more and more money online, I still felt like it was never enough. I never fully felt safe with it until I started to do this work. If you are in flight or freeze with your finances, you might be somebody that's like, oh yeah, I'll get around to it. I'm going to figure it out later. Oh, I'll look at my bank account later. You might be someone that's like, I can't even look at my bank account. You might be one of those people that puts your head in the sand and like doesn't look at it and doesn't want to manage it. You might ignore bills or things that come in. You might stay stuck in under-earning jobs. That's a really big one. Or not allow yourself to actually put yourself out there. Say if you want to do something entrepreneurial. Or you might be unable to make financial decisions. So you just like kind of sit on your laurels and you kind of just like feel stuck around it and like, you know, keep saying like, one day I'm going to get to this. Yeah, one day I'm going to take the finance course. One day I'm going to do that. And your nervous system's actually stuck in fight or freeze, flight or freeze. And then with fawn, so the collapse nervous system response with finances looks like you might give money away to others, like give things that you don't have. You might neglect yourself. You might not buy things for yourself. You might feel guilty around setting boundaries around money, or feel guilty or even embarrassed about asking for a raise, about charging more in your business, about actually charging what you're worth. And I know some of you guys are going to see yourself in this. If you are in fawn around your finances, you might say things like, oh, I don't need much. Like, I'm fine with less. Like, yeah, I can just have a simple life. And the thing is, like, it could be very true for you if you get quiet enough to listen to your intuition, which, just so you know, our intuition is only clear if our nervous system is regulated, because otherwise all the gunk and the muck is like getting in the way of your clarity. So that's a side note. But yeah, you might be somebody that like really does desire a simple life. I'm not saying that you have to like want all the riches in the world, but if you are doing that from a place of, kind of not allowing yourself to even have the desire or want it, that's often coming from a dysregulated place. So overall with finances, it's a sign you're dysregulated if you just have chronic anxiety around money or around how much you have, or you're not showing up for it, or you're not looking at it, or you're hoarding it, or you're overly controlling it, you're not circulating it with an open and willing ability, you're not trusting yourself to make more money, you're not having this positive relationship with it. And the connection between our romantic love and money are deeply intertwined. And I feel like I should probably do another episode on the energetic between love and money, because you'll find if you have issues in one, you'll have issues in the other. So people with anxious attachment can often be in debt. There's a whole energetic around it. So that's a whole other episode. But yeah, those are signs that you could be dysregulated with money. And it's so possible for you to shift this when you begin to shift your nervous system and shift your body's state. So what this actually looks like is learning the tools to be able to regulate your nervous system when you are either managing your finances, when you're going to look at your finances, when you're going to show up in your work and in your business. And it's so freeing when you have this open, trusting relationship and you're able to surrender when it comes to your finances and with money. And what it looks like when you're regulated around finances is you have a clarity, but you're not obsessed with it, right? You're able to look at your finances. You're able to spend in alignment. You're able to have discipline with your finances without fear of it running out. You're able to have an abundance mindset without denying yourself your desires, your needs, your wants, treating yourself when it's in alignment. You feel a sense of safety and security and don't feel the need to control. And it's so liberating. And it's something that I still am constantly expanding and constantly working on. And it's completely shifted over the last couple of years since I've done this work. And I truly believe it's been a direct byproduct of changing my nervous system state to feel comfortable holding more and more wealth. So I want that for you. Okay, let's move into relationships. Signs you could be dysregulated in relationships. Number one, if you are in fight in your relationships, so if your nervous system is naturally going into a state of fight, you might say things like, I can't trust people. I have to protect myself. You might say, if you really cared, you would know what I need, right? You find that you're picking fights over minor things, or maybe you test your partner's love. You get defensive really easily, or you want to reject them before they reject you. Anyone? This is striking a chord. And if you're like, that's not me, don't worry, we'll get to you. In your relationships, if you're in flight, and that's your habitual patterning. And I just want to say actually really quick, you might see yourself in multiple of these. So it doesn't mean like, oh, I only go into flight in relationships. Like all of this is so complex and our nervous system can go into many different patterns depending on what is being activated. So I just want to say that too. If you are in flight around relationships, you constantly need space during conflict. Maybe you ghost people. Maybe you pull away really easily. Maybe you overwork to distract yourself, or you numb out to distract yourself from true intimacy. And a lot of flight is like avoidance, is surface level relationships, is like not wanting to get too close, not wanting to get too intimate. When it gets too real, your nervous system gets activated and makes you want to run away. If you go into freeze in your relationships, you might, like say if you're dating, like you have a really hard time being able to tell how you feel. You're not in a place of clarity and in connection with your intuition. And you might notice that you're in your head a lot. You might say, I'm fine, when you're not, right? When you're in a relationship and your partner's like, oh, babe, what's going on? You're like, I'm fine. I'm fine. You could be in freeze. Shutting down during arguments, staying in unfulfilling relationships, even though you feel stuck. That's a really big one. Or being afraid that there's nothing better out there. So like you might have this like nagging gut feeling that something's not right, and yet you're staying in it and kind of gaslighting yourself. That's actually a sign that your nervous system is in freeze. And then fawning in relationships, which this was a huge one for me. People pleasing, being in codependent patterns, thinking that you're not okay if the other person isn't okay, doing things to not upset your partner, feeling like you have to over apologize or manage to keep the peace. A lot of people with a fawning response with nervous system, in their nervous system or in relationships, can get themselves into somewhat abusive dynamics. You might attract, what we would say would be narcissists, right? That's a whole other episode, because I actually truly believe like really highly empathic people without boundaries tend to fawn for safety, because a lot of times having a high level of empathy and being a highly sensitive person was actually a way to manage your safety in childhood, and you could be recreating patterns with overly controlling or overly abusive partners. So that's a dynamic that I see often, and that was a dynamic that I actually had a decade ago before I started to do this work. So yeah, fawning, you think you're too sensitive, you don't want to have too many needs, like that is a really big one with fawning. And overall, with relationships, being dysregulated in relationships can show up in a lot of ways. Chronic anxiety, emotional numbness, overwhelm, not wanting to get too close or wanting to be too close, anxious and avoidant attachments all come from a dysregulated nervous system. Everything but secure comes from a dysregulated nervous system. Being hypervigilant, feeling like you're too much, feeling like you're not enough, having a fear of abandonment, all of that is signs of dysregulation inside of your relationships. And I can honestly say I have healed my anxious attachment in relationships through nervous system regulation. I was a woman that used to be very anxiously attached. I used to very much go into fawning, people pleasing, wanting someone to rescue me, victim mentality, damsel in distress. I wouldn't have known that that was the way that I was relating. But in my early, even mid-20s, I had some very tumultuous relationships. And yeah, I wanted to be in a relationship so badly. And, I wouldn't have said it this way at the time, but I was definitely looking for my partner to complete me. And having walked the path of this work and then really deeply doing the feminine work and nervous system regulation work, which deeply go hand in hand, learning how to feel, learning how to hold myself, learning how to trust myself, it has changed my life. I talk about how I did a year of celibacy and did this work, and not shortly after, I manifested the love that I have now that is fully secure, and so the communication is so beautiful, and the way that I'm able to share my desires and also honor him and what he needs, and also not take it on and have this beautiful relationship with such deep communication. It's totally changed how I show up in relationship and the type of relationship that I have that's just like so supportive and so present and so loving. And I know that it's possible for anybody, because I know where I came from. You guys know, if you know my story and I share about it on here, a decade ago, I was in a really, really abusive relationship. So if I can walk this path and do this work and sit here today and tell you the way that my life has shifted, it wasn't because I did separate work and worked on my relationships and worked on my finances and worked on, my health and all these things, which from doing this work, I've also lost 17 pounds. So let me just say, it changes everything. When you heal your nervous system, you heal every area of your life because you allow yourself to show up differently. It's not disconnected. When you heal the root, you heal everything else. So I just want to speak that into you. And I feel like this is kind of long. So I'm not going to go into all the different ways of being in fight, flight, freeze, or fawn with your health. But basically the way that this can show up with your health as well is not being in your body, being constantly overthinking and underfeeling, constantly needing to over-explain, you might feel like anxiety when you tune in. If you do body scan meditations and you notice, this happens with my students a lot, where it feels overwhelming to just sit in silence with your body and notice the sensations. If that brings you anxiety, that is a sign that you're dysregulated when it comes to the connection with your body. And with health specifically, if you're somebody that is constantly restarting health programs on Monday, or you are binge eating at night, or you are scrolling on your phone and numbing out, not doing the things you need to do, if you have physical tension, chronic tension in your back, your neck, you have digestive issues, you numb out on food and alcohol, All of those are signs of dysregulation, or overly control. So the opposite of that, which would be in more of a fight response, because the fight response is what tends to be more controlling and rigid. You have to stick to your plan. You have to get it completely right, or you totally, beat yourself up. Or maybe you're super rigid with your routines. You don't feel worthy of rest unless you've earned it. Those are all signs of dysregulation and control. And again, when you slow down, when you allow yourself to learn how to change the state of your body, it is crazy the way that your body will heal. You are a naturally self-healing machine, right? Like, we have this really intelligent meat suit that we are in that has accumulated a lifetime of experiences. And when you actually allow yourself the space to tune into your body, to be in tune with your needs, to actually listen to yourself, to repattern safety, it naturally changes how you show up for your health, how you nourish your body, how you are in tune with yourself. And it is so rewarding. It's so beautiful. Yeah, I used to have to I tried to force change. I would try to hustle and force and control what I was eating and control how I was showing up and managing my finances and control what was happening in my relationships in order to feel safe. And so much of learning how to regulate your nervous system is learning how to create safety inside of your body. And also it allows you to learn how to surrender to life. Because when you are safe within yourself, you don't have to control the things outside of yourself. And that changes every single area of your life. So I hope that this episode is landing for you. I hope that you're feeling validated and have a sense of it's actually so much more simple than I am making it. And you don't need to force, and you don't need to hustle, and you don't need to control. And I know that can feel really confusing when we're taught that that's what we need to do in order to change our life, but it's not. You need to learn how to actually be in your body and learn the simple nervous system regulation tools that you can pull out when you are triggered in any way. So whether you're triggered when it comes to your work and being seen, whether you are triggered because your partner didn't text you back, whether you are triggered because you binge ate last night and you're feeling upset with yourself and now it all feels like it's going to shit, whether you're triggered because you got an unexpected bill, the management of the state of your body is going to be the same. So when you learn the root cause healing mechanisms, you allow yourself to change from the bottom up, right? You allow yourself, I imagine that all the things you want to change are on the top floor, they're on the surface level. But if you go all the way down to the basement, all the way down to the root, right? All the way down to the root chakra, for those of you who are into chakras, right? The safety, the security. When you learn how to transform that, then you transform all the way up to the surface level, to the top level, to the things that you see. And I mean, I've kind of woven how this has changed my life, throughout this entire podcast, but I spent years doing mindset work, doing self-development, future scripting my life, trying to act as if, and yes, it got me results, but I was tired. I was burnt out. I didn't feel like I could manage it all. It felt hard. It felt challenging. I felt like I had to control everything. And when something went awry, right? Whether that was a launch didn't go as well in my business as I thought it would, or I went through a breakup. Oh my gosh, you guys, when I used to go through breakups, my whole life would go to shit for a month before I found this work. Or gosh, I would yo-yo back and forth. I would gain 15 pounds and lose 15 pounds and gain 15 pounds. And I was just on this hamster wheel of on the outside, it was looking like my life was changing. And in many ways it was, right? I was still very proud of myself. It was deep into even me having this podcast. And it wasn't until I took that year off that I did the somatic work, that I really repatterned my nervous system, that I did my year of celibacy, that I did the deep, deep work. And that for the past 2 years, I have had a new foundation. I've become a new woman. I've become so much more mature. And it is a result of doing this nervous system regulation work. Yeah, I mean, I lost, I mean, I could list all the things, but like I lost 17 pounds. I doubled my yearly income. I manifested the love of my life. Like I have more ease, more spaciousness. And now getting the stuff on my vision board is just like a positive byproduct of the peace and the excitement and like the love for myself and the confidence that I feel in myself. It's just like the cherry on top. It's not the thing that's fulfilling me. And I want that for everyone. And, and again, like I'm still on this journey with all of you. Like I certainly don't like have it perfect. And I don't say that stuff to be like, and look at me now, right? But I am saying that to say, this is the core root that changed my life. And everything else has been a beautiful byproduct of that journey. And it's a lot more simple than we make it. So I hope that is helpful for you. And if this is something that you want to dive more into, I am teaching a free nervous system regulation workshop next week, April 1st through 3rd. So sign up in the show notes below, or you can go to rachelgibler.com/regulate. And this would be a really long podcast if we went into all of the nervous system tools. So that's why I'm going to be teaching it in this free workshop. You can get the replays if you can't make it live. It's going to be an hour a day from 6 to 7 p.m. Central Standard Time, 1st through 3rd. And each day I'm going to be teaching, and I'm also going to be, this is an experiential workshop. So I'm going to be giving you a nervous system regulation tool that you can use in your life. You're going to get a different tool every day that you can actually experience on the call with me. You're going to experience your shifts in your nervous system in real time. And the more that you do this, the more that you practice these tools that I'm going to teach you, the more that you're going to be able to actually shift things in your life. So again, it's not about the surface level change. It's about the deep change of the state of your body, which we're going to do together next week. And then from that change, you'll be able to change the rest of your life, because it's going to change how you feel, and it's going to therefore change your actions, your results. It's going to give you back the ability to respond rather than react to life. And that's where your true fulfillment is going to come from, because it's going to create trust in yourself, confidence in yourself. And I want you to have these tools. So go to the show notes, sign up, rachelgibler.com/regulate. And I'll send you, or the link to join will be on there. And I'll see you guys April 1st through 3rd. And yeah, I'm so excited. We had 3,500 people go through this training last year, and they had such incredible results. So on that page, you'll be able to see all of the shifts that they had in just 3 days. And I have a feeling it's going to be really helpful for you as well. So I love you guys. And with that, I'll see you next week for the workshop, and I'll see you in the next episode. Thank you for listening to the It's Fucking Spiritual podcast. I am so glad that you're here. And if this episode resonated with you, I invite you to share this with a friend that you feel needs to hear it. And if you are really feeling the love and support for this show, this podcast thrives off of your listens and your reviews. So I would love if you could leave us an honest review. We would love to hear your feedback, your thoughts, your questions. And it helps us get this podcast in the hands of more people, and would mean so much to me to receive your support. So thank you.